Ladies and gentlemen, your Super Bowl 59 MVP is President Donald Trump. Last night in New Orleans, Louisiana, President Donald Trump made an appearance at the Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the soon-to-be champions Philadelphia Eagles. And it was a historic occasion for several reasons, one of which because, well, President Donald Trump was the first president to attend a Super Bowl, and it was big. It was a big deal.
That would be history already in the building tonight, as President Donald Trump becomes the first sitting U.S. president ever to attend a Super Bowl game live.
And it wasn't just a big deal with the announcers and with the fans and with people at home. And from a history standpoint, it was a big deal for the players. Chris Jones from the Kansas City Chiefs, star defenseman, jumped up off of the bench, ran into the field just to shake President Donald Trump's hand. Everybody was thrilled that the president made the trip to New Orleans, Louisiana. You may remember that New Orleans, of course, was the site of a terrible terrorist attack on New Year's Eve with a truck that ran down Bourbon Street, killed over a dozen people. Many of their representatives and family members were there. There was a fantastic tribute, and I think that's one of the reasons why President Donald Trump wanted to be there. Also, President Donald Trump wanted to be there to celebrate America, celebrate the United States, celebrate with all of his fans, and he had a lot of fans. There were a lot of people there that were all about Donald Trump, loved Donald Trump, and they were thrilled that Donald Trump arrived. In fact, during the singing of the national anthem, when Jean-Baptiste, who is a New Orleans native, was singing the Star Spangled Banner, they cut the Jumbotron operator, the camera operator, cut to an image of President Donald Trump, and the crowd erupted. I mean, it was a roar like you've never heard before. Now, you could juxtapose that to, I don't know, somebody like, Taylor Swift, who was also in attendance. And when they cut to Taylor Swift, she didn't receive the exact kind of warm greeting that Donald Trump got. She got the opposite. She could even be seen mouthing what is happening or what is going on when the crowd started booing her image on the Jumbotron. And Donald Trump, he was there. He notices everything. Nothing gets by him. And he later took to Truth Social to point out the only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chiefs was Taylor Swift. She got booed out of the stadium. MAGA is very unforgiving. And look, it's true. Donald Trump knows when he's popular. Donald Trump knows when he's the most popular person in the building. Donald Trump knows when that the American people are on his side for a couple of reasons. And in fact, it's not just the cheering during the national anthem. Polls are starting to come out. And CBS News and the rest of these broadcast networks are forced to, I guess you would say, report the inevitable or report the truth about Donald Trump's popularity. And that is that Donald Trump has never been more popular in his entire life. Listen to Margaret Brennan. Yes, that Margaret Brennan, the I don't really care Margaret, have to report on these polls yesterday on Face the Nation.
Our CBS poll finds that a majority of Americans, 53%, approve of the job he's doing. That's a better approval number than he ever reached during his first term in the White House.
Look at that. Not only does he have great approval ratings, but they're better than ever. They're better than his entire first term, and he's only been in office for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's going to get even better. She brought in their poll analyst, I forget his name, it doesn't really matter, and he reiterated, I think, what everybody knows, that when a politician runs on a platform and then does exactly what he says, people like that.
He's doing, in the eyes of the public, what he said he would do in the campaign. There's political value in that. In fact, 70% of people say he's doing what he promised. That's whether they approve of him or not. Now, there's another part of this that continues over from the campaign. There were words that he was described as being tough, being energetic, and he still is today in big majority numbers.
Yeah. And Donald Trump is, one of those odd politicians who does what he says, and the public really likes that. In fact, Donald Trump was described in this poll as tough by 69% of the people, energetic by 63% of the people, focused by 60% of the people, and effective by 58% of the people. Tough, energetic, focused, and effective. That's everything. That's everything anybody wants in a president of the United States, and the American people finally have that. Trump and the other thing that the CBS News poll And the YouGov poll asked, Trump and campaign promises. Is he doing what he promised in the campaign? 70% say yes. And as they pointed out, that's whether you agree with him or not. He's doing exactly what he said he would do. How many times do presidents actually get elected and immediately within 2 to 3 weeks do everything that they said they were going to do, or at least start doing everything that they said they were going to do, whether it's weeding out waste in the government like Donald Trump has tasked Elon Musk with doing with the USAID and the education department and other places, whether it's shutting down the border and evacuating illegal immigrants from the country, whether it's tough talk with our trade partners and making sure that we're not getting taken advantage of with some of our so-called allies. All of these things that Donald Trump promised, he's executing on already. And speaking of the immigration debate, Trump admin's program to deport immigrants illegally in the U.S., 59% of people approve of that. That's 60% almost approve of Tom Homan and ICE and Donald Trump taking illegal immigrants out of our country and sending them back to where they belong. And that is why his popularity has never been so big. And that is why he's not getting booed at the Super Bowl. He's getting applause and cheers and accolades. One of the other things Donald Trump promised to do, which he did, was rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And he already signed the executive order. It's been that way for a while. But yesterday he was flying over the Gulf of America on his way to the Super Bowl. From West Palm Beach, they flew across Florida. They flew across the Gulf of America into Louisiana. And they had a huge celebration, a big ceremony ready to go while they were on the plane. Donald Trump brought out the official new map that the government is using. He brought out a proclamation, and he decided that yesterday, February 9th, wouldn't just be Super Bowl Sunday, but it would also be Gulf of America Day. And the pilot even chimed in on the intercom to discuss the Gulf of America proclamation.
We're flying right over it right now, so we thought this would be appropriate. Even bigger than the Super Bowl. This is a big thing. And almost everybody now has assented to that.
Attention on board. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please direct your attention out the right side of the aircraft. Air Force One is currently in international waters, for the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America. Please enjoy the flight, and we are now about to head westbound to Super Bowl 59.
Wow, yeah. He did that well. Make America great again, right? That's what we care about. Okay, here we go.
And then Donald Trump signed the proclamation while all of the media on board were taking photos and videos. And after that, he holds it up.
It's a famous pen now.
Yeah, it's a famous pen because it's the Gulf of America pen. President Donald Trump's proclamation said, "Today, I am very honored to recognize February 9th, 2025 as the first ever Gulf of America Day. On January 20th, 2025, I signed an executive order 14172 restoring names that honor American greatness. Among other actions, that executive order required the Secretary of the Interior to take all appropriate actions to rename as the Gulf of America the U.S. continental shelf surrounded area bounded on the northeast, north, and northwest by the state of Texas, yada, yada. I took this action in part because, as stated in that order, the area formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico has long been an integral asset to our once burgeoning nation and has remained an indelible part of America. Today, I'm making my first visit to the Gulf of America since its renaming. As my administration restores American pride in the history of American greatness, it is fitting and appropriate for our great nation to come together and commemorate this momentous occasion and the renaming of the Gulf of America. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim February 9th, 2025 as Gulf of America Day. So to celebrate the Gulf of America, Donald Trump signed this proclamation. They showed the brand new map that illustrates the Gulf of America. This is the official map with the renaming and the White House on there. And as you may or may not know, there is official Gulf of America merchandise, which is available at the Mark Kaye shop, markkayshop.com. markkayshop.com. You can get Gulf of America t-shirts, there's hoodies, there's mugs, there's all kinds of things with the official name Gulf of America as proclaimed by Donald Trump. And again, it was yesterday, but you want to prepare for next year. So if you've never been to the Mark Kaye shop, definitely check it out and grab yourself some Gulf of America merch. Just before the Super Bowl aired, President Donald Trump sat down with Bret Baier from Fox News, and they had an interview that was scheduled. It was actually recorded, I believe, at Mar-a-Lago on Saturday, and it aired about 4:30 before the Super Bowl. And Donald Trump had, a variety of topics. It was a short interview with a wide range of topics, and it started off with Bret Baier basically saying, "Donald Trump, you're doing great."
There's a long list of things you've already got done in 3 weeks. Big border policy changes, ICE crackdowns on criminals, taking biological men out of women and girls sports, big energy policy changes. So what's different with you and your administration? The difference between the 45th president and the 47th president?
Well, with the 45th, I had tremendous opposition, but I didn't know people, and I didn't have the kind of support that I needed. I put people in office, some really great ones, but I had some that I wouldn't have put. I would have, known better if it were a couple of years later, or if I had a little more experience in D.C. I was a New York person, not a D.C. person. And I had a lot of opposition. I just noticed, I looked on the stage for the recent inauguration, and I'm looking, it's like a who's who of Washington. Well, if you look on the stage for the first one, it was just the opposite. So
it was just the opposite. Now he knows what's going on with Washington, D.C. Now he knows how it works. Now he knows where the snakes are. Now he knows where the swamp creatures were lurking. Now he knows who to root out, to vet out, and who to bring in that he can fully trust. And he's had 4 years to do it. And that is why he is and has become one of the most successful presidents. And he goes, look, and you know what? We need it. We need success because that's how we're going to heal America.
I would say this. We have to come together, but to come together, there's only one thing that's going to do it, and that's massive success. Success will bring the country together.
Which seems like a logical plan. One of the other things that Bret Baier asked him about was Canada and the idea of Canada being the 51st state. And he was, I guess, seemed a little shocked or seemed a little surprised that Justin Trudeau, who's still prime minister, which shocks me, Justin Trudeau, who's still prime minister of Canada, mentioned to a group of donors or a group of delegates in Canada that Donald Trump isn't kidding when he says Canada should be the 51st state. And Bret Baier asked President Donald Trump flat out, are you kidding? Is it a joke? Do you really think Canada should be the 51st state? Here's what he said.
The Prime Minister said this weekend to a group of Canadian businessmen, he was a private meeting, he said that your wish for Canada to be the 51st state is a, quote, real thing. Is it a real thing?
Yeah, it is. I think Canada would be much better off being a 51st state because we lose $200 billion a year with Canada, and I'm not going to let that happen. It's too much. Why are we paying $200 billion a year essentially in subsidy to Canada? Now, if they're a 51st state, I don't mind doing it.
Yeah, well, if they're the 51st state, we're just investing in American exceptionalism. But if they're Canada, we're subsidizing another country, a foreign power, something that there's no real reciprocity to. It's a one-way street, as Donald Trump has said over and over again, and he's sick and tired of it. And so he said, look, there's going to be something to be done. Tariffs, there's going to be some kind of new trade agreement, or we could just annex them and bring them in under the control of the United States of America, which he believes would be better for everyone. There's still debate on that. There's still debate on whether or not we want all those Canadian liberals in our electoral college. But, like I said, there's a lot of discussion to be had as well. And then finally, Bret Baier mentioned something that happened with a judge in New York on Friday who really, you want to talk about going above and beyond your actual powers. This judge, you want to talk about legislating from the bench. This judge in New York issued an order that not only forced Elon Musk and his Doge team out of the Treasury, but said that even Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent could not access Treasury documents, which is absurd and unheard of and a total overreach. And Bret Baier asked him about that as well.
Early Saturday, a judge agreed with them to restrict Elon Musk and his government efficiency team, Doge, from accessing Treasury Department payment and data systems. They said there was a risk of irreparable harm. What do you make of that? And does that slow you down on what you want to do?
No, I disagree with it 100%. I think it's crazy. And we have to solve the efficiency problem. We have to solve the fraud, waste, abuse, all the things that have gone in the government. You take a look at the USAID, the kind kind of fraud in there.
And you found significant things.
Well, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of money that's going to places where it shouldn't be going, where if I read a list, you'd say this is ridiculous. And you've read the same lists, and there are many that you haven't even seen. It's crazy. It's a big scam. Now, there's some good money, and we can do that through any one of a number. I think I'd rather give it to Marco Rubio over at the State Department. Let him take care of the few good ones. So I don't know if it's kickbacks or what's going on, but the people, look, I ran on this, and the people want me to find it. And I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. But I campaigned on this, Brett.
And that's Donald Trump saying, look, I trust Elon Musk. I trust him to get the job done. I'm not sure how he has the time for it, but he's doing it. He's rooting out the government waste in the USAID, in the Treasury Department. Next, within 24 hours, which by my watch is today, he's going to go after the education system. Then he's going to go after the Pentagon, and he's going to find all the waste. And there's a lot of it in a lot of these different places. And the Democrats are panicked. The Democrats are furious. The USAID, I think it snuck up on them. They weren't really expecting that to happen so quickly. They weren't expecting the USAID to be dismantled so abruptly. Even now, if you go to Washington, D.C., you can see they've taken down the lettering off of the building. They've shuttered it. They've covered up the USAID nameplate with black tape while they work to reuse the building. And that has shut down the cash cow, the flow of funding for a lot of Democrats and their allies around the world. And now I think they're realizing they need to take some drastic measures. So they're getting all of their judges, all of their super socialist, left-wing crazed judges who like to legislate from the bench together. And they're saying you need to do whatever you can do to stop it, even if constitutionally you have no power to do it. And that's exactly what's happening. And Stephen Miller, Donald Trump's deputy White House chief of staff, was on Maria Bartiromo. And I think he did a fantastic job describing exactly what this decision is all about.
A radical left judge said that the Secretary of the Treasury cannot access the Treasury computer system. This isn't just unconstitutional. That ruling is an assault on the very idea of democracy itself. What we continue to see here is the idea that rogue bureaucrats who are elected by no one, who answer to no one, who have lifetime tenure jobs, who we would be told can never be fired, which of course is not true, that the power has been cemented and accumulated for years, whether it be with the Treasury bureaucrats or the FBI bureaucrats or the CIA bureaucrats or the USAID bureaucrats, with this unelected shadow force that is running our government and running our country. Donald Trump is engaging in the most important restoration of democracy in over a century, by saying that we are going to restore power to the people through their elected president and his appointed officers. That is the only way we can have true democracy in this country. You elect a president, he appoints a staff, the staff transparently carries out his orders on behalf of the whole nation. But this nonsense, where we have rogue, unelected, unaccountable, and previously unfireable bureaucrats who do whatever the hell they want, with no one telling them and no one controlling them, we're not going to let that happen anymore. We're going to have a democracy, and we're going to have an executive branch that serves the American people, that answers to the American people, and that answers the will of the American voter.
And I think that's probably exactly what people want. In fact, I know it's exactly what people want because we saw the polls, and Donald Trump is doing exactly what the people have said. He's doing exactly what he promised. Donald Trump, 70%. He's doing exactly what people knew he was going to do. And they see him as tough, energetic, focused, and effective. And that's not going to change. One last thing about the Department of Treasury. On his way home from the Super Bowl yesterday, Donald Trump, I guess, decided to drop another gem on the American people about waste in the government and things that he and the Doge team have found. And that's regarding the penny. The penny, he wrote, for far too long, the United States has minted pennies, which literally cost us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful. I have instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. Let's rip the waste out of our great nation's budget, even if it's at a penny at a time. So Donald Trump said that it makes no sense to make sense. We'll end it there. Listen, if you've enjoyed this podcast, I'm so glad. Also, don't forget, we have a second daily podcast, and there's so much more news to get to today. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. We air every day live at noon on YouTube and Rumble and other various platforms. But you can also download our podcast on any one of your podcast platforms, whether it's iTunes or Spotify, wherever you like. Just search Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Download, listen, and enjoy.